So bureaucracy suffering from trained incapacity, even if accepted, is not always a limitation. So first of all, you should know what is trained incapacity. Trained incapacity is not an usual expression. Normally, when we train somebody, when we train an individual or group of individuals in any organization, public or private, large or small, we train. Why do we train? We train to build capacity. We train an individual to inculcate in him the required skills, the required, attitude towards the work or the responsibilities which this person is going to take up, or when his role perception. So we train so that he could develop a positive role perception. He could do his work efficiently and effectively. He could make desirable value addition, to the organization, the interest of organization, and value addition as far as his competence level is concerned, his professional competence as well. Fine. So we train to build capacity. But in the context of bureaucracy, sarcastically it is said very often that bureaucrats over a period of time during their career, the progress of career during the time, over a period of time, they develop incapacity. It developed incapacity. Why? Because of their training. What is the meaning of that? The very training of bureaucrats are trained in terms of rule-based decision making. Bureaucrats are trained in terms of understanding rules, regulation, applying a set of rules, regulations, procedures to carry out different kind of activities or the responsibilities. So the very training of bureaucrats to work within the bounds of common legal code, to follow definite rules and procedures, apply this or that section of the law, to keep within the bounds of law, their very training over a period of time build incapacity in them. In what context? But obsession with such rules and regulations, regular, consistent compliance with rules, procedures, over a period of time, they end up losing their ability to take decision on something, regarding which they don't have any predetermined rules and regulations. Any situation wherein they are required to decide things on the basis of intellectual spontaneity, they need to reflect creativity, some kind of out-of-box thinking. So here, the very training of bureaucrats for rule-based decision making or consistent compliance with rules and procedures for everything, gradually in the course of time, it diffuses or it dilutes their ability to reflect creativity in decision making, or to reflect that intellectual spontaneity, or for that matter, the dynamism which is required, to take decision and to get the things done. So the very training of bureaucrats build some kind of incapacity in them. But this is a very harsh criticism. But in contemporary times, as we find that the bureaucrats are carrying out different kinds of activities, they discharge different types of responsibilities, their level of training is also different. So it is not so much applicable these days, at least in those governments and those countries where the administrative reforms have taken place, and bureaucracy too has evolved to become a far more competent, mature and dynamic bureaucracy. It's not, and even if you accept that bureaucrats have developed, they suffer from trained incapacity, because of their training, they always take decision within the bounds of rules and regulation and procedure, and they develop incapacity. Then this trained incapacity too, has certain merits, certain advantages. So it does not cause so much of limitations. What does that mean? How can you establish that? It means the very training of bureaucrats to act within the bounds of rules, regulation, procedure tends to make administrative behavior, organizational behavior, tends to bring organizational behavior within the bounds of some kind of, within the bounds of certainty and regularity, some kind of discipline and predictability. So they impart a kind of stable disposition to the government. Bureaucrats, their behavior, their response is always predictable. They follow certain rules, regulation. So they provide the much desirable stability, that we know that something like this is going to happen. These are the rules and procedures. They are not going to deviate from that. So in a way, they provide a lot of stability to your polity, stability to your society or your economy. Because of this stability, the other players who are capable of creative thinking, those who are capable of out-of-box thinking, they get an opportunity to work for change and development. So this limitation is not so much a limitation. There's another way to look at the things. Progress and development invariably demands a striking fine balance between stability and change. In fact, progress is defined like bringing stability amid change and change amid stability. Without a stable disposition, you cannot orchestrate change and development. So the institution of bureaucracy is known for providing such stability thanks to their predictable behavior or certain behavior, because you can easily anticipate that they are going to, or you can predict that in such a situation they are going to respond as per this section of this law or this procedure. So thanks to this stability, thanks to this stable disposition which is granted by bureaucracy, you can work for, or government can work for change and development. Without a basic stability, a stable foundation for society, politics, economy, etc., you cannot work for change and development. And for change and development, you can employ, you can appoint other persons who are experts in their subject. So some kind of balancing has to be done, stability and change. So bureaucrats assume the responsibility to provide that stability. So that stability comes from what you call incapacity. But in positive sense, you can say that thanks to their consistent compliance with common legal code rules and procedure, certain things become very much certain. Certain things become very much predictable. It gives you a very sound foundation over which you can orchestrate change. This is the point. So trained incapacity, even if this criticism is accepted, it is not always a limitation. But in general, it is seen as a limitation, because bureaucrats in the government, there are many areas wherein bureaucrats are expected to reflect that spontaneity. They are required to go for the creative thinking. They identify different courses of action, going for merits and demerits kind of analysis. Then you choose the desirable course of action. So something it is required in the government, in typical ministries and departments, in the government organization, you're dealing with sovereign functions, those kind of areas, things can be, we do not suffer from this kind of limitation. You are required to take decisions as per the rules, procedures, fine, understandable. But if you are carrying out activities, if you have to manage any commercial undertaking of the government, if you have to manage economic activities of the government, wherein commercial prudence is required, good economic sense is required. If bureaucrats are, if they are appointed or they become the part of India administrative body in a research and development institution, so they are in a different environment, they need to work. And here, if they apply rules, regulations very rigidly, as they used to apply in the administration departments, they end up becoming a liability. So this criticism is not totally incorrect, but in contemporary times, things have progressed, to a very good level. It is not, the criticism is not always valid. Okay, and even if it is accepted, this limitation, or you can say it is a kind of blessing in disguise in certain situation. It can be seen as a blessing in disguise. That stability is provided, and because of this stable disposition, you can orchestrate change. Thank you.